The Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge comes to you today from the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, round 6 and 7 of the 2021 campaign. We're moving towards the halfway point of what is set to be another stellar season of racing in one of Britain's premier one-make championships. We've got a really healthy grid again here this weekend across both the Pro and AM classes, both of which have rather interesting championship battles starting to develop, and we're looking forward very much to two cracking races here. Over 25 minutes the distance in our two races this weekend. Will Aspin there has got pole position for Elite Motorsport. Will is second place in the championship, still looking for his first victory of 2021, but he is yet to finish off the podium in the 5 races that we've had. Will Orton will start alongside him on that front row of the grid. Will Orton has had a fairly lacklustre season so far, the exact opposite of Aspin really. Aspin's never been off the podium, Orton's never been on it yet, and so therefore Will finds himself languishing rather down in 9th place in the championship. Let's take a look at that grid in full then. Aspin and Orton, as I said, on the front row of the grid, the pro drivers, as you'd expect, towards the front of the field. Row number 2 then will be headed by Ben McKenna, with John Bennett for company on that second row with him. Harley Horton and Josh Steed are together, the other way round. Steed 5th, Horton 6th on the grid. That's the third row with Nat Hodgkiss and Magnus Kruklevi together on row number 4. 5th row then for Mikey Doble, but further down than you'd expect the Zentek Motorsport driver. He's got Connor Grady, very experienced GT5 Challenge racer these days, rounding out the top 10. Ignacio Zanon is 11th alongside Owen Hizzy, two drivers who have been moving steadily up the Ginetta ladder over recent years. They're together on row 6. Then it's David Ellerslie and Aidan Hills making, I believe, his debut in the championship. Aidan, a very successful Mazda MX-5 one-make racer, moving up into Ginettas for 2021. Will Rochford and Haytham Karajulia next. Haytham was in the wars a bit at Brands Hatch a few weeks ago, but certainly kept us entertained in that number 75 TCR car. And then we've got Harry Mangan and Chris White, who are on the front row of the AM field. I've got a story to tell you about Chris White, which we'll get into a bit later on. Paolo Santi and Karim Sekat are on the second row of the AM grid, the 10th row overall. The AM cars, by the way, will start 10 seconds after the pro field leaves the line. Phil McGarty and Bal Sidhu make up the third row of that AM field, ahead of Mark Steele and Tom Holland. And then we've got another group of cars then in the G40 Cup behind them. Mark Warren and Nick White. The G40 Cup, a separate championship that shares the grid with the GT5 Challenge. And again, they have a Pro and an AM class. So you've got Nick White and Brendan Maude, Rupert Laslett and Andrew Willis are next, ahead of Brendan Hafner. And Peter Dilnot has Stephen Moore for company on the 4th row of the G40 Cup grid. Then you'll have James Turner and Stephen Davis, and that might well make up the back row of the grid. I think we've lost one of our G40 Cup drivers earlier on in the weekend. So an awful lot of cars, essentially 4 races in one here. You've got a Pro and an AM class within the GT5 Challenge. You've also got a Pro and an AM class within the G40 Cup. And that will mean that over the next 25 minutes, we're not really going to know where we're supposed to be looking, but that is just the way we like it, really. Nice close racing as well, guaranteed pretty much with these very slipstreamy cars that are not very aerodynamic, and Silverstone being a very high speed circuit, high average speed, lots of long flat out sections into often quite big braking points. It does generate lots of overtaking, and we saw that, didn't we, at the end of last year when the championship in the GT5 Challenge in particular went right down to the very final race of the season, and it was Josh Malin that came out on top in a ding-dong battle with Gordy Much, in which the race lead and therefore the championship changed hands far too many times to keep track of over the course of that final race of the season. G40 Cup, by the way, the Pro Class Championship being led by Mark Warren from Nick White in second place. The AM Class, Rupert Laslett has a 13-point advantage over Andy Willis, but in the GT5 Challenge, Josh Steed is your championship leader by just 6 points over Will Aspin in second, and John Bennett is then a further 15 points back in third. So Aspin versus Steed could be the battle. The GT5 AM field sees Harry Mangan enjoy a slightly healthier championship margin. It must be said, he's on 155 points. Paolo Santi is on 112 in second, but then Paolo is just 2 points ahead of Phil McGarty and Bal Sidhu, who are tied for third in the championship. All of that, though, will change multiple times probably over the course of this race and indeed the rest of the weekend. The field then lining up on the start-finish line, the heritage pits, the original pit straight being used as our base here this weekend. Pole position is on the outside, so the right as we look at it, the dark blue car is Will Aspin. That's the outside line for Copse, but it's in theory the grippier side of the road. That's why pole position is over there. Can Will Aspin, though, convert it into pole position? Let's find out. The green flag is waved at the back of the grid. The first race of the day about to get underway for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge and G40 Cup. The red lights go on. They go out now. We are away and racing at Silverstone. It's a brilliant start made from pole position there by Will Aspin. Will Orton's going to do his very best to stay level with him into turn one, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it. Actually, I tell a lie. He's fought back in the second phase of the start. It's Orton that was quicker, and he snatches the advantage through Copse. 1 or 2 running wide there. Ben McKenna, I think that was running a bit wide going through the first corner, as behind them the G40 Cup cars, as I said, 10 seconds behind the rest of the field, are launched off the line as well. So through Maggots and Beckett's for the first time we go. It is Ben McKenna into second, so the pole sitter Aspin down to third place then. Not an ideal start for him. Then it's John Bennett by the looks of it in fourth in the number 27, so quite a few changes already through the first couple of corners, but this is the hanger straight. This is where the slipstream starts to come into effect, and already, look, you can see a challenge for the lead. To the inside goes Ben McKenna. He was almost getting a bit of a help there from the pole sitter Will Aspin as they go into Stowe Corner, and just like that, the race leader Will Orton drops 2 places, maybe a third as well, to Bennett as they turn through. There's a car sideways. That's Aidan Hills around at Stowe and finds himself broadside across the middle of the road. Thankfully allows the car to roll back, and the number 80 car, I'm afraid, is going to fall right to the tail end of the field. So not a good start for Aidan Hills, but everyone else seems to have, generally speaking, made it cleanly through the first half a lap or so, through the double apex right-hander at Club. Place being lost there, by the looks of it, by Owen Hizzy in the 74 car. He ends up a little bit wide there. Who's that going up the inside? 95, I think that was, wasn't it? Which is Nat Hodgkiss, who started several places, in fact, a couple of rows on the grid ahead of Hizzy. So either Hizzy's had a good start or Hodgkiss has had a poor one. We'll establish that when the timing screen updates at the end of the opening lap. Into Village then. Top 2 making a bit of a break. Third place scrap is on, and Will Orton has gone from second to first to now fourth in about 2/3 of a lap, because John Bennett goes up the inside at the loop and drops him down to fourth place. Now 3 wide through Aintree is not going to happen. Thankfully Conor Grady there on the inside. The all-orange car bails out of that, but Magnus Grigleby around the outside kept his foot pinned to the floor, and now again the slipstream brings them all back together down the Wellington straight. So it is going to be Ben McKenna then that leads from Will Aspin by the looks of it at the end of lap 1. They've got a decent lead here over everybody else, basically, who are trying to be third. Through the Luffield they go. Mikey Doble there making a move up the inside of Conor Grady. The orange car drifts a bit wide. The 88, the blue and white of Doble, slips up the inside, and Conor Grady gets 2 wheels in the dirt, actually. So this is not going well for Conor. Mikey Doble making the transition from the BMW Compact Cup for 2021. Very, very talented young driver whose father, Mike, has been racing for decades now. Again, to quite a high level of one-make racing in particular. And Mikey looking to try and follow in his wheel tracks, in particular looking to move up the touring car racing ladder. And he's getting well and truly used to that door-to-door action here in the GT5 Challenge. He's still side-by-side with Grady. In fact, it's 3 wide, and up the inside of both of them goes the recovering Nat Hodgkiss. Brilliant driving that from Hodgkiss. He's got past Doble, who also got past Grady. So 2 places lost for Grady, 2 places lost for Hodgkiss. In fact, Grady was going slow, I think, there in the background. Slowly through Chapel Corner was the orange car. The number 11 car is not yet appeared onto the hanger straight. There it is, look, Conor Grady in strife. I'm afraid that looks like a mechanical issue, unless there was contact going into Maggots. It did look like he and Doble maybe banged doors, but you wouldn't expect that normally to damage the cars too badly. So Conor Grady then, I'm afraid, is our first faller. He is out of the race. It looks as though Aidan Hills was able to continue. Yes, he did, after his lap 1 spin down at Stowe Corner. As here, the battle for fourth rages on. Number 58 is Josh Steed, the orange and black car, trying to work his way ahead of Will Orton as they come out of Club Corner. Now there you can see that separation between the top two and third place John Bennett. At the line, it was a 1.1 second gap between second and third. I'd say it's going out again on this lap, and it looks to me as though Will Aspin and Ben McKenna, for the time being, have formed a bit of a truce, haven't they? Never mind. Up the inside goes Will Aspin, just to make a liar out of me. It looked like they were working together, which would have been the sensible thing to do, to build this gap over the third place battle, but Aspin, I think, got a bit bored of following in the wheel tracks of the race leader. He's up the inside again through Aintree now, and the more they run side by side, the more time they risk losing to the cars behind, but they are also side by side because we've had a change there, have we, for third? Yeah, Orton's back ahead of John Bennett now, and he's bringing Josh Steed in the orange and black car with him, so side by side for the lead, almost three abreast for third place. Aspin on the inside will get the advantage away from the 46 of Ben McKenna, but Ben tries to fight back again out of Brooklands into Luffield Corner. Further back, it's all kicking off. That's John Bennett on the grass. He almost gets into the side of Magnus Kruklevy's red, black and white car, and that allows the number 20, that is, isn't it, of Harley Horton in the Elite Motorsport Ginetta to get up the inside as well. I told you it would be a job to know where to look. I haven't even touched upon G40 Cup yet. We'll try and get round to them in a moment. It's Aspin from McKenna out in front. Who gets third at Copse Corner? It is Josh Steed ahead of Will Orton. Then John Bennett fifth, then Harley Horton sixth, and Magnus Kruklevy in seventh. All of these, of course, are GT5 Pro runners. GT5 AM being led by Chris White, which is nice to see. If we get a look at Chris later on, I'll tell you this story he was filling me in with. That car has had a bit of a rough time of it in recent weeks, but Chris has got himself into the GT5 lead. That's the number 83 car ahead of Harry Mangan and Karim Sekat. G40 Cup was being led by Thomas Holland at the end of the first lap, and still is at the end of lap 2 from Dean Warren and Rupert Laslett. Then in third overall in G40 Cup, leads in the AM category. Right, hope you got all of that. It's probably out of date by now. I've taken my eyes off this lead battle for half a lap, which means it's bound to have changed again. And yes, they're side by side down into the Vale and Club. Will Aspin in the dark blue car on the inside, run by Elite Motorsport, has John Bennett trying to find a way around the outside. In fact, these two are both Elite Motorsport teammates. And remember, they are second and third in the championship. Josh Steed, who has fought his way into third place, is the championship leader. So we've got the top three in the championship now, running 1, 2 and 3, but in a slightly different order to their championship positions. Defensive driving there from Aspin as they head through Abbey Corner, which has got to be nearly flat in these Ginetta GT5s. But then again, you get the chance to get back in the slipstream before a big stop, probably the biggest braking point on the track, this into Village. A nice wide entry as well, so it's very inviting to go up the inside. The same is true through the next left-hander at the loop, but Aspin is managing to fend him off at the moment. But look at the way this gap is coming down. In the first sector, the leading two drivers were about half a second slower than Steed in third. The middle sector ends halfway down the Wellington Straight, which is where they are now. So I'll compare those times now, and it looks as though, yes, they're going quicker again. So the gap between second and third is coming down, and there's another lead change on the cards here as McKenna goes back up the inside of Aspin. He doesn't get the move made, but he puts Aspin offline now for Luffield. There might be the chance to get the switch back. It doesn't quite work. He tries to give Will Aspin a helping hand through the corner in the hope that maybe that would allow him to open the door on the exit, but that didn't happen either. But let's see what this gap is then between McKenna second, McKenna second and Steed in third. It was 1.476. It is now 0.847, and Josh Steed, the championship leader, sets the fastest lap. Look, a purple lap means it's faster than anyone has gone so far, a 2:25.40, about 8/10 off pole position, but he's gaining on the leading two, who are side by side again now as they head into Maggotts and Beckett's, and this time surely McKenna's going through. Yes, he does, and Aspin loses the place, loses another chunk of time to Steed, and Steed is bringing friends with him, isn't he? Because Will Orton and John Bennett and even Kruklevi and Horton are not far back, so we could soon have a 7-car train for the race lead. They head out onto the Hanger Straight once again. The lead battle is about to become even more intense. Down the back straight they go then towards Stowe Corner, and now Will Aspin, rather than attacking to try and reclaim the lead, is almost having to think about watching his mirrors a bit more now. There's also a little bit more rain on that camera lens, I'd say, than there was a lap ago. I don't know if it is raining heavily enough to really make the track that tricky. Of course, the GT5 Challenge cars run on slick tyres in the dry. They have a wet tyre option if it gets really, really wet, but that means that if it starts to get a bit damp and greasy, they might start to struggle a little bit for traction. G40 Cup, however, have the option of, well, they all run on treaded tyres, so they should be fine. Should we get a little smattering of rain. This camera lens looks okay, doesn't it? But of course, part of the trouble with Silverstone, the Grand Prix circuit, is that it is so vast at 3.6 miles that it actually spans across a county line. So it's in 2 separate counties, this circuit. It is that big. Oh dear, that's a real lunge up the inside, and there is a bit of contact between John Bennett and the 31 of Will Orton there. And that nearly ended in tears. I think Bennett held on to 4th. No, he didn't. He did lose the place. He's out wide. And look, Josh Steed is challenging for 2nd place. So this is going to separate the lead pack again. It's still McKenna that leads, but Aspin and Steed, 2nd and 3rd in the second and 1st in the championship respectively, are side by side for 2nd place in the race. So this is starting now to get rather entertaining. Again at the front, and that's John Bennett off the road. John Bennett, oh, it's all fallen apart for him rather on this lap, hasn't it? He falls now to the back of the group. That's 7th place, so it's going to be Orton 4th, Harley Horton, in 5th, and then Magnus Kruklevi 6th. Off, I'm afraid, goes car number 22. That is Steele, isn't it? I believe, yeah, Mark Steele from Leicestershire in the Toro Verde GT car. And Steele was running in 20th place overall, but that was actually 5th in the GT5 Cup AM class. But he ain't anymore. He's in the gravel. Didn't quite catch where that was, but he is out of the race by the looks of it. So through go the leading 3. Steed, look, is ahead of Aspin, so that's significant. Josh Steed now looking to extend his championship margin over Aspin and over John Bennett, of course, who was 3rd in the championship. Now, Ben McKenna at the head of the field, I don't think has raced with us yet this year. He's certainly not registered any championship points, so he isn't really a concern here for Josh Steed. Yellow flags I could see at Stowe there, so I'm guessing that was the place that we've lost Mark Steele. This, though, is Chris White. Chris White, number 83, is leading in the... no, 83. It's not Chris White, I beg your pardon. It is Chris White. I'll get this right in a second. Chris White, number 83, who is leading in his category, the GT5 Cup AM category. You'll notice there are fragile stickers on that car, and with good reason, because he unfortunately had a big crash at the season opener at Thruxton. The car was totaled, and he had to use a hire car actually last time at Brands Hatch. The only thing apparently they could salvage from the car was the passenger door. So they've got the passenger door back on the car now. This is his original chassis that's been repaired. But his sponsor is a company called Crockery Direct, who sell tableware, and all of their boxes, when they give a delivery out, have the fragile sticker on them. So that's the story behind the new stickering on the number 83 car. Right, back to the overall race lead. Josh Steed was briefly there ahead of Ben McKenna, then ran wide going through the left-hander at the loop, so he falls back to 2nd, and of course Will Aspin is only too happy to then relieve him of 2nd place as well. He's at the inside of him into Brooklands corner and will make the move, and almost got up the inside actually of McKenna, but it's a deceptive camera angle that. Again, Brooklands a really late apex. They turn in very wide. It's tempting to dive for the early apex and get up the inside, but that almost always ends in tears. Contact there actually between Steed and Aspin as they come out of the tight right-hander at Luffield. Meanwhile, G40 Cup, this is the fight for the overall lead in the G40 Cup, and therefore also the Pro Class lead. Thomas Holland is the orange and black number 23 car. He's got the class lead. Number 50 is Dean Warren, Mark Warren, excuse me, who started on the front row with Holland. They're actually still in grid order, but as you can see, they're still very close together. We've got 12.5 minutes to go, so we're bang on halfway through the race now, and still either one of these two could win the class. They have a bit of a gap actually over Rupert Laslett. He was 2.5 seconds behind them in 3rd place at the start of the lap, but Laslett is still leading in the G40 AM category. So with half the race gone, still half the race to go, and that means that there is still plenty of time for more lead changes, more positional changes in what is now becoming a bit of a group of 5, isn't it? Where has John Bennett gone? Bennett dropped down to 11th, so we saw him go off at Brooklands and Luffield, but he only lost a couple of places then. He dropped to 7th, but John Bennett then dropped another 4 places on the next lap. So John Bennett, 3rd in the championship, was in this lead pack earlier on, but he's dropped all the way down to 11th place now. The lead pack has also dropped Magnus Kruklevi a bit now in 6th. So Kruklevi was 2 seconds behind 5th place Harley Horton at the start of the lap. G40 leaders back through Copse Corner again. Still the same order. There is the AM class leader. That's number 5, Rupert Laslett. So you can see there the gap between himself and the pro drivers. Rupert Laslet, actually on that lap, pretty much matched the two ahead, and he's got no one to slipstream with, has he? His nearest AM rival is the next car behind him, actually, number 37, and that is Andrew Willis. As the race leaders are banging doors again through the loop, and that's Aspin up the inside of Ben McKenna now, and watch Josh Steed. Steed will get a run on both of them here down the Wellington Straight. Oh, Aspin tries to cover, he couldn't get there in time. They are 3 wide for the race lead, and Ben McKenna is trying to squeeze across in front of both of them. He gets in front of Aspin, who then goes from the middle to the outside, but it's Steed with the double slipstream and the run up the inside into Brooklands, who gets back into the race lead. Championship leader back to the front, but he's out wide, he's on the grass. They're 3 wide again through Luffield. Terrific racing here in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge, and all of a sudden Will Orton and Harley Horton are well and truly a part of this fight again. Oh, McKenna trying to close the door on Aspin. It won't work, and he's going to have to be careful because Will Orton has a run on him as well as they cross the line. So Steed now leads with 10.25 minutes to go. Aspin second, McKenna third, but up the inside of him again through Copse. It's literally changing by the corner. This is why we love this championship and the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Whilst they give good racing at all circuits, this is the one that these cars were made for, really, isn't it? Oh, dearie me, side by side into Beckett's. McKenna on the inside holds on to third place there from Will Orton, as Josh Steed now tries to keep ahead of Will Aspin. There are 6 points between these two. Steed has won 3 times this year. The other 2 victories going to John Bennett, who's not a factor in this one anymore. And as I said at the start of the show, Will Aspin in second place, still yet to win a race. He's had 3 second places and 2 third place finishes in 2021, and he's back down to third now because up the inside of both of them goes Ben McKenna. What a move that was, but he outbrakes himself slightly. He runs wide, he takes Steed with him. McKenna will hang on to the lead, and actually Steed does manage to hold on to second as well, but that was a real lunge. Yellow flags at Abbey though, at Club, excuse me, because there is a car stranded there on the curb. We'll try and get a view on who that is in a second or so, but that is unfortunately going to mean one of the better overtaking opportunities on the circuit is covered by yellow flags for the foreseeable future. Also, by the way, a 5-second penalty has been given out to car number 21, which is Will Rochford. He's running down in 12th place at the moment, but that it doesn't actually tell us what it's for. But we can all guess, can't we? It possibly has something to do with exceeding those pesky track limits. Right, damage, look, to the front of Ben McKenna's car. The race leader's bonnet is loose. Now, one of the good things about these GT5 cars is that the bonnet opens a non-traditional way, if you like. You lift it up from the windscreen side, which means as long as you're going forward, the air pressure should keep the bonnet in place, and they're still going to be going forward, albeit at a reduced pace now because the safety car is being caught, but Will Aspin has not seen the yellow flags, and he goes up the inside of Ben McKenna and takes the lead, but we saw clearly there were yellow flags out down the Wellington Straight, so let's hope the team can get a message to Will Aspin there, and for that matter, Josh Steed, because it should be McKenna in the lead, I reckon. I'm unsure exactly where Steed was in all of that at the time of the yellow flags, but it certainly Aspin was behind McKenna, wasn't he? 48 was the spinner, which was Ignacio Zanon. Now that's interesting because Zanon was running pretty well, I seem to remember, within his class, wasn't he? So that's unfortunate for Ignacio, who, no, Zanon has now been promoted into the pro class, of course, hasn't he? So ran in the AM category in 2020, but was midfield, I think, in the pro category today. The good news is the car is out of the way already, so you could argue there wasn't much need for the safety car, but it should only be a 1-lap safety car unless there is another car off somewhere that we don't know about, which I don't think is the case. So let's run down the order then. Will Aspin, well, provisionally has the race lead, but that's dubious. You can take the top 3 here with a pinch of salt, but it's either Aspin, Steed or McKenna that should have the race lead. We're going to have a look, I believe, in a moment of that, the reason for the safety car, which was Zanon's spin, but we'll see if we can maybe get a look at who was ahead at the time of the yellow flag as well. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Before we run down the order then, let's have a look at the spin, or the moment for Ignacio Zanon. It's coming down into the left-hander. Oh, and he does it all on his own, look. Oh, and he's going to back it up onto the curb. Is he trying, of course, to get out of harm's way? And he just bounces over onto the curb and gets stuck. Now there you can see, left of screen, yellow flag clearly being waved, but of course there are 2 cars blocking Will Aspin's view of that, and he's not really looking that way anyway. He's focusing on the race lead, so no doubt about it, he passed under yellows, but his defence will be that he couldn't see the yellow flags. Not that that tends to matter. It's a clear no-no, isn't it? You must not overtake when the yellow flags are out, especially when you see a safety car board alongside. But in one order or another, it's Aspin, Steed and McKenna the top 3, then Will Orton 4th, Harley Horton 5th, Magnus Kruklevi is back in this now, isn't he, in 6th place. He dropped back a bit, but the safety car brings him back into play. So too Nat Hodgkiss 7th, David Elsley 8th, Mikey Doble 9th, and John Bennett, who dropped down those sort of 7 places in a lap and a half, didn't he, in that number 27 car. Let's see if we can see the 27. Actually, it's the white and blue fronted car there coming through. No damage on it that I can see, so I think he's okay, isn't he? Obviously just lost his rhythm a bit when he had that moment up at Brooklands. The AM category, they're the names with the black backgrounds and the yellow numbers on your timing tower down the left of shot. Chris White still leading in the fragile number 83 car, Harry Manjan 2nd, and Karim Sekat is running 3rd in GT5 Challenge AM. G40 Cup, I'm guessing, is still going to be Thomas Holland. Yes, it is, from Mark Warren, with Rupert Lasslett 3rd, leading in the AM category. Now, yes, that's what I've just seen. That's right in front of my commentary box. The number 13 car is Brendan Hafner, which I think has stopped. I don't think he's gone off. He's pulled over, I reckon, at the side of the road coming through Woodcote. Marshall's just having a chat to him now, so that will further delay, you would imagine, the restart of the race. The safety car with the leaders behind it is at the final corner, but the G40 Cup, of course, are some way behind. They are restarting the race by the looks of it, so these G40 Cup cars are not going to catch the pack before the restart. There are the race leaders coming through. The safety car is in the pit lane, but I don't think the message got through that Hafner's car had stopped, and so there are no green flags that I can say. Oh no, there are now, there are green flags. So, well, there are green and yellow flags, and if that's not confusing, then I don't know what is. But the race apparently is back underway with Will Aspin out in front. It's given us plenty to talk about this race, hasn't it? We think, there you go, yellow flag still out at Beckett's. So, no overtaking at Beckett's. Safety car board, I think, was back out, was it there? Oh, there's another car. That's Harry Manjan. That's Harry Manjan now, who was running in the 2nd place in the GT5 Cup AM category, who was also slowed as they come across the start-finish line. The rest of the field are heading down the hanger straight. Now, what does this Marshall's post say? Is it a green or is it a yellow flag? Well, they're side by side. They're still racing at the moment, aren't they? Aspin ahead. No, yellow flags. Yellow flags. There we go. So we must be having an extension of the safety car here. But I think because there were 1 or 2 cars that stopped in dangerous places literally just moments before the race restarted, the message didn't get through, and now the red flags are being shown. And that, I'm afraid, will probably be a rather bizarre end to our 6th round of the championship, because 3.5 minutes there or thereabouts left on the clock. They almost certainly won't be able to give us a race restart here, so I'd love to tell you that Will Aspin is going to win the race, but I have my reservations about that. We will await further news. Of course, we've got a 2nd race for these cars later on, which will be this afternoon, won't it, at about 3:30. So we'll have the official result by then, but provisionally, Aspin should get the lead, because with the red flag, of course, the results go back a lap, but the previous lap was behind the safety car anyway, so there were no positional changes. So there is Will Aspin, who gets provisionally his 1st victory of the season. It's been a long time coming, this. I know it's only race 6 of the year, but he really did. He's been knocking on the door in each one of the 5 races that we've had so far. And with the victory, we'll take a few points out of championship leader Josh Steed. You get 35 points for a win. You get 30 for 2nd. There were 6 points in it, so the gap comes down to 1 point, except Josh Steed got the fastest lap, which I believe is worth a bonus point as well. This is the reason I'm saying provisional, because, well, apart from anything, he's not even on the track there, is he? He got squeezed onto the grass, but more to the point, yellow flags were out. I absolutely don't blame him for that. I'm convinced he couldn't see the yellow flag. At that point, he's more concerned about being squeezed onto the grass as he goes 3 wide for the lead at one of the fastest points on the circuit. But unfortunately, it's not really a grey area. It is a cut and dry rule. Whether you saw the flag or not, you almost always, I can't remember a single time that I've seen someone get away with that simply because their defence was, I couldn't see the flag. But I believe that's the reason that he did it, if you follow. Anyway, we'll get confirmation of who won the race later on, but Will Aspin, I'm sure, will fight his case, and especially because that is obviously his first victory that he was fighting for there as well. Slightly subdued celebrations there from the Elite Motorsport team as the drivers tore past them in the pit lane. We have had confirmation that that is the checkered flag, by the way, so no resumption of the race. So yeah, as I was saying, Aspin takes 5 points out of Steed provisionally for the win, but Steed got the bonus point for fastest lap. So at the moment, 2 points will be in it at the top of the championship, with John Bennett in third, dropping back. Here is your provisional result then for round 6 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. Will Aspin the winner on the road, with Josh Steed and Ben McKenna joining him on the podium. Will Alton was 4th, Harley Horton 5th, Magnus Crickleby 6th, Nat Hodgkiss 7th, with David Ellerslie, Mikey Doble and John Bennett down in 10th. Then it was Owen Hizzy, Haytham Caragiuli, Will Roachford and Aidan Hills, who actually recovered quite nicely there to 14th place. Chris White wins the AM category, Harry Manjan was 2nd, and Karim Sekat 3rd in the GT5 AM category. In G40 land, it was Thomas Holland who led pretty much the whole race there in G40 Pro, with Mark Warren 2nd, and then 3rd overall in the G40 Cup. A really, really good effort there for Rupert Laslett. Rupert Laslett, 3rd place overall, but wins the AM category with Willis there in 2nd position in class, and rounding out the top 5 overall in G40 Cup was Nick White, and he also gets himself on the podium in G40 Pro. For the record, 3rd on the podium in G40 AM was the number 73 car of Stephen Moore. You can see there the Yorkshireman, 27th overall, gets himself a class podium. Right, an awful lot to talk about after that first race of the day, and it all started with a great start actually by Will Alton there in the white, blue and red number 31 car on the inside of row 1. Started 2nd but got the lead into turn 1 despite the best efforts from Will Aspin to try and cut him off, but as we kind of predicted, the order into turn 1 would not be the order for much of the race, because these cars are designed to produce great racing on a high-speed, slipstreamy circuit such as this one, and immediately there was lots of overtaking. There was a spin, though, for Aidan Hills on his debut in the championship down at Stowe Corner. He fell to the back of the field and recovered to 14th. Mikey Doble and Conor Grady went wheel-to-wheel in the early stages, Doble getting the better run out of Luffield. Grady 2 wheels in the dirt, and Doble got ahead of him and would eventually finish ahead of him in the race as well, because Conor would retire soon after with mechanical issues. Great battle for the lead between Will Aspin and Ben McKenna developed, but as they started to hold each other up, the chasing pack would get ever closer. Mark Steele had a spin into the Stowe gravel trap, but thankfully that car was recovered under yellow flags. Battle at the front eventually became a 7-way battle at one point, with John Bennett there losing more places after a spin. He'd already been off at Brooklands, and then he fell down outside of the top 10 with a spin at Club. Josh Steed and Ben McKenna wheel-to-wheel for the lead as they went on to the Wellington Straight, and Will Aspin got the run on the pair of them to once again get back to the front. Ignacio Zanon had a spin down at Club, and then as he rolled backwards he got beached on the curb. That led to a slightly bizarre sequence of events where a safety car was scrambled just at the moment that Will Aspin made the move for the lead. He appeared to overtake under yellow flags, and then on the attempt to restart the race, Harry Manjan's car caught fire. A dramatic race. The second race is coming up later on this afternoon. Join us then.